We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning at 10 o'clock. And if we could, please rise. We'll take a moment of reflection before we start this morning's council. Amen. Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Anyone have any pecuniary interest on today's? Seeing none, of course, it can be declared at any time. And with that, we'll get down to Sheila. We'll get down to Sheila to give us anyone that's out there virtually the instructions that we need. Sheila, please.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter meeting ID 891-5626-2480. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance at any point during this meeting, you can send a chat message to me, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you.
Must be the Tuesday after a long weekend. I forgot a lot of stuff. Thank you, Jamie, for that. And again, thank you, Sheila. We'll go on now to delegations, which we don't have any, but the presentation from our Director of Finance. Carrie, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us an update of where we're at on the budget, as that is what this meeting is about in the morning today in comparison to what they're going to be in this afternoon and this evening. So, Carrie.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. So you have the budget changes summary of the various items that have been removed or added to the budget. We are starting today at 9.5% tax levy increase. The breakdown on that is about a 3.3% tax levy support that's increased for capital, and 6.2 is tax levy increase on the operating side. And one of the items that we were remiss in not addressing was the Saugeen Municipal Airport. Their budget presentation, they will be looking for council to accept a motion to accept their budget as presented. Our budget included an estimate of $44,650. Their budget request is $45,875 for West Gray's share. So that's another $1,223 increase if council is going to accept their budget as presented.
The first question. Any comments on that? Any advice of where we should go? What's that? Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
Thanks. Good morning. So I'm just looking at the budget changes summary, and the 4th last item is a Chamber of Commerce partnership, which is an addition, but it's in the removals column. Does that make a difference, or?
The Elmwood Chamber of Commerce for the sign, is that the one you're?
No, South Gray Chamber of Commerce partnership, 10,000.
Oh, yep, that was my oversight. I will flip that over. Yeah.
That doesn't change.
It doesn't change.
Okay.
No.
That was my concern.
Yep.
Thanks.
I think the question we're looking at though here is the municipal airport. Do we go with it at this point in time until we have further information on where we're going with our ownership and development of the airport. The $1,000 or, sorry, $1,237, whatever the number is there, doesn't add anything significantly to the budget, does it, Carrie? The numbers are incorporated in there now. There's nobody making any motions, then I take it that no words are positive words, so just leave it there and we'll drive on. I know we need a motion. No comment? Okay, Jeffrey?
I'll move that we incorporate that revised number into the budget while we consider our options in the future.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Shea, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Any further questions or comments on that? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That one's carried. All right, Carrie?
The next item to be addressed at the November 29th council meeting, the request from the Elmwood Chamber of Commerce to repair the sign and at the coming into Elmwood was deferred to the budget meetings, and it was my oversight in not including that in there. So this is being presented for council consideration, whether to add. They're looking for the total cost of the sign. They're estimating at $4,500. They're putting in $1,500 and they're asking for the balance of $3,000 to come from West Gray.
Thoughts, comments? Deputy Mayor. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. We may have asked this, and forgive me if I forgot, and through you to the director. The 3,000 is, I'm not sure if we've asked this question, but should this not be split in two with Brockton and us? Because it is a shared, in my opinion, it's a shared sign. Or why is West Gray carrying the full complement of 3?
Historically, expenses have been shared with Brockton, but I believe in the correspondence, the chamber has not approached Brockton.
Okay, well, that's where I'm landing on this item. It is a shared community. They're putting 15, and I could see West Gray supporting 50% of that sign for the enhancement there, but certainly not the full complement. So if you're looking for a motion after dialogue, I would make that motion.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Just have we gone back, and maybe this is for our representative on, well, this is Chamber of Commerce up there, isn't it? Yeah. We should go back to them because the location of that sign where it is, it's in a very prominent location going into Elmwood. But I'm thinking in my mind, there's great opportunity for them to go out and get some sponsorship, sell some sponsorship and put on that sign. There's lots of room on that sign, or the old sign they had anyway, to sell some sponsorship to maybe some businesses in the area that might offset the cost of replacing that sign.
Okay. Point well taken. Any other comments, questions on this? Not to put words in your mouth, Deputy Mayor, but I was going to say, do we need a motion to go ahead and support at $1,500 with the expectation we will supply $1,500 upon Brockton coming through with their $1,500? What you're looking at?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, that's what I was going to do, but I just thought I'd open up to my peers here to have any comments they may have. But yeah, that would be the summary of what the motion would be. Thank you. Yes, I will move that.
Through Mayor, so just to be clear on the motion, that's $1,500 contingent upon $1,500 also being received from Brockton.
50% coming from, of that 3,000, 50% from Brockton.
Thanks.
And they have confirmation. Okay. Any further questions or comments? Call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. And we do pay 50% for the electric or the digital sign that's on the other side of the road.
Yes.
When people are leaving Elmwood, they can see that side. So we'll have double coverage now. If Brockton comes through. Okay. Where to now, Carrie?
So that are, with those two small changes, the tax levy increase, $1,134,135, or still 9.5%. So the next would be to deal with the remaining BRF, the budget request forms. To say yay or nay to any of those that we haven't dealt with.
We've had them in our package. Is there any one in that anybody would like to pull? Scott, Councillor Forrester.
I like to pull the bridge basket one. And I would make a motion on that one. Oh, all right, before my motion? Sure.
Make a comment, Scott, or on the bridge basket, which
Sorry, so my plan was to take money from the commercial beautification budget and move that money to do this project.
and just to be clear, that's the one, bridge baskets for the Garifrax.
The Garifrax Street Bridge, yes.
Okay. Anything further comments before I introduce a motion on that? CEO, ma'am, Laura?
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I believe Mr. Hewlett has some information that might be helpful for council as well. So, and there he is on the screen.
Cody, comments?
Thank you, and through you. Good morning, council. If we were to move forward with the proposition that Councillor Forrester just mentioned, that would leave the commercial beautification budget in a shortfall, as those funds are typically allocated each year. However, with that being said, after this budget request form was submitted, we did receive an update from our Public Works department that there will be light standards included on the bridge if they are not already installed yet, in which we'll be able to put hanging baskets on. So I do not believe bridge baskets would be required.
Okay, there's some different information. Tom. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and through you to Director or Mr. Hewlett. There's still a cost though with incorporated with hanging baskets versus bridge baskets. There's got to be a cost there. So what's that number? Thank you.
The cost for bridge baskets is still being determined this year. However, for the number that we would be required to put on that bridge, we could do it within an operational CBC budget.
And if I could, just one comment. In the past, when I've known that there's been the ability for any vandalism on the hanging baskets has been very minimal. The bridge baskets have seen on occasions vandalism in the past. Just leaving that out there. But so that's part of it, that there is some type of a lighting. Of course, it'll be dark sky compliant. No, he's just not going to say anything to that comment. That's all.
Sorry, through you, was that a question directed to me?
Yes.
I am not sure of the lighting on the bridge, if it will be dark sky compliant. I would defer that question over to our public works team.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's something that needs to be at this point in time, but it will be in play when we do go ahead, because it's part of the corporate policy. I believe that we work as much as we can towards that environmental issue. Okay. All right. So with that said, staff is kind of indicating that with the new function or the new programming, infrastructure is going to be on the bridge baskets me. So Scott, you're fine leaving it at that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Using the hanging baskets instead of the bridge baskets with no extra budget implications.
All right. Anything else under those budget form requests? BFRs, is that what we call them? Is that the short form that I got to use? BRFs. Okay. No, I'm going to go to Mr. Hutchison first, and then I'll go to Joyce. Doug?
There's a couple items in there that I think they're important because it has to do with safety and security. And so I'd like to see us discuss the first one having to do with the generator backup switch, and which is the first one. And then the other one was the building security locks, updating the locks. So it's code accessible or whatever they're looking at there. But there's two items there. Though I do suggest that rather than putting it on the budget, that maybe we have some kind of funding. For example, the generator one, I'm not sure if we can use the modernization reserve, because I think to modernizing your generator so that you don't have to go out and pull a cord to start it, that might fit that bill. But the other one is the locks, the security, maybe that fits under that modernization reserve also. I don't know, but I'd just like to see us do it somehow, but not necessarily hit the budget. It's not big costs. One's 15,000, the other one's 12, I believe. So that's what I'd like to see us take that into consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Carrie, I guess the first question would be, is there any money in the modernization grant? Does it qualify for modernization? And do we need to do it in that order?
Yeah. The modernization funding was previously 100% allocated by council. Some of the projects are starting to wind up that were in there. Others, if they weren't started, it would need to be reprioritized by council to switch it from the listing of projects that we were doing under that. But I don't have the balance on all of them, just with some of the year-end invoicing just being completed to know where exactly we finished off, if we've used it all up for all of the projects that we had, but we had previously allocated 100% of that funding.
Okay. Any further thoughts? Doug, Councillor Thompson.
Just a question, and being a first-time counselor and first time going through this process, things like the generator, the request, did we get estimates as to, so we have a ballpark number of what we're using here, or is it a number we've kind of pulled out of the air? And my thought pattern behind that is simply, for $15,000, you can probably buy a whole new generator. Where if we're just putting an automatic start on it, it's probably going to be thousands of dollars cheaper, I would think. And I know in my previous life over at Abbeyfield here in Durham. We had generator work done over there, and it was actually not too bad when you consider the fact where we had to rebuild the whole thing, and it was a toss up between 10,000 for a new generator or get the old one rebuilt, and then we got the old one rebuilt for less than half of a new one. So I'm trying to get a grasp on what work's actually being done. Is it just a matter of putting in an automatic generator? Is it electrical stuff that's got to be wired up? That's my concern. If there's, do we go out and quote somewhere, get some prices on this before we put it in the budget? Or do we just kind of pull a number out of the air? Thank you.
This has come from administration, so I don't know whether Laura wants to tackle this one, Madam CEO. Carrie?
Previously, we had gotten quotes for it, and it has more to do with the electrical inside the building and the panels downstairs, I believe, to get the switch from the manual, flip the breakers, do this and that, then have the switch. So it has to do more with the electrical in the building. Yeah.
Present moment, how many people are trained to be able to do that? It's a matter of 1, 2, 3, I believe. Turn the button, flipping this switch, flipping that switch, and turn the button. How many people do we have trained to start the generator at this point in time?
Currently, with the staff vacating, there's probably one. Mr. Earhart comes out and starts it for us.
Doug, go ahead.
I don't know. I just think that given that I live in an area where a lot of people have backup generators, the thing runs every 2 weeks automatic. It's on a timer. It kicks in. It runs for half an hour or whatever, and then it shuts down. It's good. So anytime a hydro, we get a blip or a hydro goes out, automatically that thing's going to run. So given that this is our emergency center, I just think it's important that thing kicks in right away, that so that we're still online, people can access. If our computers are down, if we have no access to hydro and one on this building, where are we in terms of emergency? So I think it's something we just should have. So I don't know where we get the $12,000, $15,000, but I'd like to see us do it somehow.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. I was just wondering if through you to Councillor Hutchison, if we could split these two items, because you've got them both kind of coming at the same time. Thank you.
Fine. Right now, we're just talking about the generator, I guess. So, which is different from the switches. So yeah, the generator right now is what we're talking about.
Joyce? Councillor Noon.
Thank you. So this to the Director of Finance. So we have the generator in place. So this add auto start. So that then if we have a surge in the electrical or the hydro, this would automatically start the generator without someone physically having to come in and start it. Yeah, I support Councillor Hutchison's suggestion. Thank you.
CEO. Laura.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Going back to the inquiry about the modernization fund, in consultation with the treasurer, there is one project that we haven't started, and we do have a staff resource that could make some headway on that, and it is waste management study. That's correct, Carrie? And we had allocated $25,000 to do that work. Sarah is nowhere near beginning to put any effort toward that just yet. So that is an option if council wants to, reserve 10,000 of that for the waste management piece, and Sarah can, fill in the gaps and put 15 toward this. But I know we need a motion for something like that.
Therein, that's an option for funding the project. I guess the last question. How many times has it been an issue? And I believe that it's on a maintenance program that it is run, the generator is on for twice a year. Is that twice a year that the company comes in and does an inspection on it? And does Steve flip it on once every other week or twice a week? Twice a month? So we don't do any of that other than if the hydro goes out, he comes in and flips it on, and there is a maintenance on it twice a year. Okay. Further questions or comments? Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Actually, I was going to make a motion, but I can. I make a motion that that we go ahead with the generator backup switch using modernization reserve funds of $15,000.
Very good. Councillor Noon.
I second that motion. Thank you.
Just to clarify the motion there slightly.
Yes, so I was informed that maybe we should be a little more specific and say that it's in place from the waste management study portfolio or something, because that's where it's coming from.
Jamie?
Through Mayor, just to clarify, what I captured from the motion is that in consideration of the 2023 draft budget, council directs staff to reallocate $15,000 from the waste management study project to the generator auto start project.
I believe that covers it. Right, Joyce? Questions, comments on the motion? Jeffrey? Councillor Shea?
Can somebody remind me what the waste management studies goals were? I mean, if we put $25,000 towards that, it must have been fairly important.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shea, I know it was involving retaining a consultant. I don't know that we'd had the whole scope quite figured out until we had our environment officer position here. Anything specific that you can recall? Yeah, probably working toward a master plan of the future of the landfill. So it's a very important project. But I'd like Sarah to put some thought to what that actually entails and where we can start with the 10,000 at least.
Okay. Any further questions, comments on the motion that's on the floor? This won't affect the overall budget. It's just moving some reserve funding from one project to another. Higher priority. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. All right. Second one would be something to do with Councillor Hutchison. You made mention about locks or security or something of that nature.
Right, so the other one was the, I guess it's CAO 0223, having to do with the security system, safety upgrade for the building. And again, I was suggesting that we use modernization, or maybe there's another reserve fund somewhere, but it's just one of those things I think that we should have. It has to do with having a controlled access, security access for the building, which also I believe would alert fire and police if there was some kind of a break-in. But also to make it maybe somewhat easier for staff accessing the building when you can use codes or face recognition or whatever, whatever you might be part of it. It's $12,000. So I don't know, maybe is there money in our capital reserve or some other reserve that we can use without getting into hitting the levy? I just think it's another one that's very important.
I'm not sure about but the other aspect is I would like a little bit more information on. It's already, there's a digital system, the building is coded. From staff accessing, any staff member that comes through has their own code. So we'll know exactly who coded in, who coded out. Am I correct in that? Laura or Carrie, correct? I guess.
Yes, the system currently does monitor for break and enters, fire and entry.
So the enhancement is for what further than that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Cody's on screen now. He's done the research, so it's probably best to speak to this one. Thank you.
You're up, Cody.
Thank you, and through you, the proposed system would be an expansion on the current system to allow keyed access or, sorry, carded access to certain secure areas of the building.
So these would be like interior doors as opposed to right now, it's the two exterior, the front and the back door that have the system on it. So this would be more dealing with interior doors as well.
That's correct. It would allow controlled movement throughout the facility.
Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, so further that, I didn't realize that. I thought we were talking building, overall building security, but I do see, I do see a need for this maybe down the road. Maybe it isn't as important right now, given that we have building security. Just because the nature of society these days, we do have some individuals that sometimes will take things to an extreme, and therefore, if we had controlled access to the office versus the lobby, maybe that's not a bad thing, but is maybe one that we could hold off for this year, and maybe look at where we want to go with it. But I do think it's something that would be a good idea in the future. Thanks.
Okay, any further comments on this one? Through that conversation, I think I'm feeling that that's with the budgetary pressures that we have here and there, this may be one that, if need be, we can use the manual locks that are on the doors at this point in time. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the VRFs that we have? Deputy Mayor Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Echoes. And through you to staff, I'm just looking at the $4,000 downtown banner program upkeep. I just would like a further explanation on that, please.
And that one I probably think would be Cody as well too. That seat's got to be getting pretty warm. We've been at you for here for a little bit. Cody, please.
Yes, through you, that budget request form is in response to the current banner program. As council is most likely aware, recently the banner program, we expanded the program in partnership with the Legion to hang banners in the beginning of November as part of Legion Week in response to our fallen veterans. However, that taking on that program has caused some budget pressures on the remainder of the banner program.
Thank you, Mayor Echoes. So, Mr. Hood, just so I'm clear on this, the $4,000 is to actually support the veterans banner specifically, or the whole program for all our banners?
It would be to support the whole program.
Okay, so yeah, that clarity there. So that's not directed specifically at any again, just the veterans, it is the entire program. So this is, we have some budget numbers in there. Is it a total of 4,000 to do the whole banner program I guess is another question.
We currently have some budget dollars allocated to the banner program. However, this $4,000 would be an expansion to keep the program at its current level.
Okay, thank you. So I would make a motion that we do support the banner program. You know, we made the investment in the banners. And I believe we have 2 sets of banners, plus we do support the veterans. So I would support that we do add this 4,000 to the budget. Thank you.
So I'm taking it that's a motion. Tom? All right. Moved by the deputy mayor on the banner program to program upkeep is the way it's described here. We'll need an extra 4,000. That's moved. Seconder? Councillor Shea. Jeff, thank you. Further comments or questions? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Just a thought, wondering if there's any possibility that we could use money from the Economic Development Reserve to support that, just because with the budget, it'd be nice to go the other way rather than add on more things. I know these are requests that potentially could add on to our budget. So if we could use the reserve from economic development, that might help in that case. But maybe a question for director, what's there?
This is an ongoing cost, just so you're aware, you will be facing this next year if you do try to pull this from reserve for this year. We have increased what we're taking from the Economic Development Reserve for the CIP program as well. So the Economic Development Reserve will be facing a significant amount of pressures next year. And this is an ongoing cost, not a one-time influx.
So my question is, how is the banner program funded now then? Where's that money come from?
From the tax levy.
All from the levy.
Yes, it's certainly not, from my understanding, this is a $4,000 increase to that operational line. They're taking it being able to supply the manpower to put up the banners, take the banners down, Cody, it's going to be a 4,000. And this banner program obviously is ongoing, or the projection is that it's ongoing. And this is our thought of what it's, after being there for a year, of what it's going to be going forward. This $4,000 needs to be in there. Or
Yes.
do we just put up one set of banners and leave it there for the year? Being facetious, there's where it comes into it at that. Okay. So I'm correct in that assumption, Cody?
Yes, through you. This past year was our first year through the whole operational program. And we realized that the budget allocated was not sufficient. And given the expansion of the program into other ventures, the budget became tighter, and this would be $4,000 for the ongoing contractual obligation for the program.
Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Thank you. So this costs, that entails labor, putting these banners up and down, probably, I don't know, like ladders or some kind of apparatus to provide for, I guess, at heights. Is there any other costs associated with it, like purchasing more banners if needed? Just to get a kind of a synopsis of what that all entails. Thank you.
Through you to Councillor Noon, that is correct. Majority of that budget is for the contractual labor to hang the banners, involving bucket trucks, that sort of thing. However, there is a small contingency built in the event that some of our banners are damaged. We can purchase replacements each year. However, that's just minimal, just a handful each year, basically, for the general upkeep of the program.
What, this is $4,000 being added. Is it being added to $1,000 or is it being added to $20,000?
It's being added to approximately $7,000.
Just for clarity, the program, we're looking at somewhere around, on an annual operating basis of $10,000 to have these banners up and down on
Yes.
an annual basis. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Echo. So, yeah, I know it's, we've got a lot in front of us, but I think, you know, we've been talking about beautification, economic development in our downtown cores. We did support the Veterans Program that came forward. I think, you know, we're really trying to enhance our downtowns, and then you can see that's supported by the CIP that we've done for the last couple of years. And I think, you know, the beautification of downtown, any enhancements we're doing to try to get the traffic to stop here, to support our downtown shops. And then again, that includes all our communities. I think it warrants the investment here. Maybe we can revisit again next year, but I think I don't think the downtown businesses would be too excited to see us, trying to do the enhancements and then we stop and not do them. And as far as only doing one set of banners, I think it's very important that we do acknowledge the veterans banners that we did support in the last term. There is a recognition of the ultimate cost or sacrifice that a lot of them have made. So I will continue to support that program as well as the other two systems. Thank you.
Tom? All right. Doug? Councillor Townsend?
Just a question. So and maybe I missed it. Are the banners put up and down by municipal staff or do we contract that out?
Cody?
Through you.
Yeah, go ahead, Cody.
Through you to Councillor Townsend, we contract that labor out. We are not certified or allowed to hang the banners ourselves due to our contracts with our hydro companies.
So it's with Hydro One and Westario that put these up and down for us?
We do not run the labor through the hydro companies. We work with a third-party contractor who's authorized by those hydro companies to hang the banners on our behalf.
Yeah. Just for my clarification, one of those companies still has an obligation to do some of the work in the downtown core at one time in the season? Yeah, I'm getting a nod from the CEO that yes, that's still in place. But Hydro One still does some of that work under the contract or the takeover of the Durham Utilities. They do that on the Christmas lighting in the downtown core. Westario does not do that in one of the other urban centers that we have that they took over. Okay. Very good. Councillor Townsend again.
Just a follow-up question. Our neighbors to the west, I know have a banner program too. And I know, because I've seen it there, and I don't know whether it's contracted labor or not, but I mean, they're just running up the side of the street with a Zoom boom and somebody's doing them, whether it's contracted labor or who it is. But I'm just wondering if there's a cheaper method of doing it. But I fully support the banner program and everything it does, but I'm just wondering for the future if it's something that we should look into. Maybe there's a cheaper way of getting up and down the poles. Thanks.
I think staff is always looking for those types of options. I certainly believe that they are. At this time, I do know that they do have qualified working at heights whatever it is, program in, how did you say it? The municipality to the west, along Highway 4. So how they're doing it, yeah. But good point, and I think that staff will continue to do that in the most efficient and effective manner. Good. Okay. Further. Ms. Noon has her hand up. Joyce.
Thank you. For Director Hewlett, these street lights, the Christmas lighting, is it handled differently than the banners? Is it done through staff and hydro, or I'm just kind of wondering the balance there, like between who does what when it comes to the downtown beautification? Thank you.
Through you, as mentioned previously, in some of our urban centers, it is installed by the hydro utility operator. However, for majority of the pole lights hung in West Gray, they are hung by that same third-party operator who assists us with the banner program.
Okay. All right. We do have a motion on the floor. This would increase the tax levy. Just wondering if it should have been through on some other place, just on the operating budget instead of on a request form. But anyways, we've got it here in front of us. I don't think, because it's an ongoing operational thing, I would caution council from trying to find it from one-time funding, as it's not a one-time basis thing. That's my comments on the motion. Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor? That is carried. All right. Budget request forms. That should be done now. Oh, no, Councillor Noon. Joyce, go ahead.
The $25,000 to replace a digital sign at the municipal office. With Ellenwood's being brought forward, you know, and the need for keeping the citizens or the passerbys seeing those visuals on a digital sign, I feel at some point we need to either replace that sign or just take it down. Again, like Councillor Hutchinson addressed earlier, that $25,000, is that going to be the price, or would it be more or less? But I think, and just a question to the Director of Finance, 25,000, if that went on to the levy, how much would that impact on our percentage increase? Thank you.
So based on what we've done today with the airport, $1,500 for the Elmwood Chamber of Commerce sign, and the $4,000 for the banner program, another $25,000 would get us to 9.8%.
Raising our combined rate to about 6.1, 6.2. Okay, is that Joyce? Going anything further on that, we would need a motion. Looking to this way, looking on that way. Joyce, go ahead.
Well, we either do it today or next year, and next year already with the new police building coming in, there's a lot of levy already spent. I move that we replace the digital sign at the municipal office, providing it stays within that 25,000. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Shea. You need an amendment to it to stay or less than that 25,000. No. Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Well, my thought with the sign is it's in the wrong location. We had a discussion earlier, maybe it was last council, about if we ever did fix that sign, maybe it needs to be placed in the area where the new police station is going to be. I find this sign is hard to read when you're traveling down the road, and it's not real safe when you're trying to read it and you're trying to stay on the road at the same time. I just think there'll be a better place for it rather than putting $25,000. I would like to see us move it down to where the new police station is going to be so that people sitting in the restaurant across the road could read the sign. And it would be much more visible. Traffic is a lot slower at that point when you're going in that area. So I just can't see us putting $25,000 into the sign. The sign cost us $60,000 to begin with. It's unfortunate that, a few years down the road, then we already put $25,000 into it. So I think we got screwed somewhere along the line here, to put it mildly. Sorry about the language. So I can't vote for this. I think I would like to see it get moved. And then when we do our new police station, we work it into there so that it's much more visible, much more user friendly. I don't know whether it can be controlled from here, given the distance is that far away, or whether it have to be controlled from the police station area. But I think based on technology these days, I can see that it would probably work. So that's my thoughts on it. I won't be in support of this.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Councillor Townsend, Doug?
I agree with Councillor Hutchinson that maybe the location is not the best. I agree we need a sign, but maybe this isn't the place for it. But the existing sign that's out there, is there any cost recovery on that by selling it to another outside party? Have we explored that? I know, and again, in my past life, I've worked with those type of signs before, and I'm not sure it's a dead horse. I'm sure somebody could make it work. So I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity for us as a municipality to sell that off and make a few $1,000s on it anyway.
Any staff members that put this budget request form forward want to make comment on that? Cody's ready.
Through you, if I may.
ahead.
We have worked with a number of local contractors to have the current sign assessed and to see if it could be salvaged. However, in working with a local contractor, we learned that the motherboard to the sign is dead, as well as a number of the modules, and replacement parts for that sign are no longer manufactured. So I would doubt that there would be very much cost recovery left in that sign.
Can we talk to Sarah in Waste Management and find out what through the electronics recycling program it might have? I think I'd just like to say to Councillor Hutchison, part of the bigger aspect of it is it's not so much about the sign itself as it is with the infrastructure. We had to run lines under the parking lot to get out to that sign. Putting the infrastructure that holds the sign up there probably was half the cost or more of what we put in to get it there. And is there a spot where the proposed new police station is going to go? But I think we'd have to take a further look at that. Here you're on a straight portion of the highway, there you're on a curve, a few other traffic measures that would have to come into account as well too. Not that nothing is impossible, but there's more than just the electronics of having the sign up there. Motion on the floor, 25,000 to go in to that sign for refurbishment for the 2023 budget. Moved, seconded. No further comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is defeated. Next, anything else? We'll have them. Councillor Shea. Jeff?
This isn't the MFP, RFP. I'm not on that section, but I did have a question. Just if you could refresh my memory, Carrie, did we conclude the grants to organizations and the request from the Health Foundation?
No, we haven't. No. Council hasn't completed the policy. I think it was a bylaw. We had done a policy draft with our previous clerk, but it was not adopted. So we have a grants organization list. In the current budget is a total of, I think it's just over 16,000. If I take out the pledge for the Center Gray Hospital, I think it leaves us just over 16,000.
So we have budgeted 16,000.
Yeah, but we haven't
got the
assigned it
protocol in
to,
place.
yeah.
So we're able to do that in the upcoming year. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The funding is, we have a lump sum funding. Just to be clear, in the budget, how it's going to be distributed to be determined. Okay. Laura, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If council is contemplating resurrecting any other budget request forms, with your indulgence, there's two that I might like to put a spotlight on. The first one would be staff training budget, an increase of $5,000. And the other one that Mr. Healy would need to speak to is the holiday trees and the community flagpole one, which is listed here for $6,500. Of all of the other request forms, I've spoken with staff, and these are the last two that are sort of a priority from our perspective. The others could wait, could come back at a later time, could be dealt with in other ways.
So from a staff perspective, under the budget request forms, let's start with the training, staff training budget request being increased. I believe it was 5,000 for $5,000 increase to training. The budget at the present moment is 5. I'm not mistaken. Top of my head. There's 5,000 in there. Number of staff turnover and whatnot. I think that's what you're looking at. Laura, to staff training be up to another 5. Correct? In administration.
Yes, so what we do have 5,000 right now for all of the admin staff. We are looking, we are requesting 5,000 for this budget cycle, which would include $2,000 specifically for customer service, and then $3,000 ongoing. So we would then be building it up to 10, right? This year. And then dropping it back to 8. The 2,000 would be a one-time increase. If council sees fit to keep it at 10, that would be wonderful. There's always lots of training opportunities, but really what this represents is just, it's the opportunity for staff to have specialized, specific focused training in customer service at $2,000. The $3,000 would just be making that budget line a little bit more correct, given the staffing we have.
Correct. Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Well, I'm in favor of staff training anytime. I think that's important, education. I'm just curious, so going forward, would this budget line not be in operations in another year, rather the addition? So it wouldn't necessarily become as a budget request. It would just be part of operations in terms of $8,000.
Going forward, yeah.
Going forward.
Yeah.
So it's the one
It's
time.
just, it was a change to our current level, so we were bringing it to your attention for approval.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? Councillor Shay? Jeff?
Thank you. The request indicates that we're in the final stages of developing a new customer service strategy. Could you expand on that at all? Like, what is this strategy? How long has this been in development? How close are we to implementing it, et cetera?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, and I don't know if Mr. Hewlett's still online. He's been instrumental in helping to shape that. We've done an awful lot of work with the Wilfrid Laurier MBA students, and they've developed the strategy. Our next step is to go through the deliverables of that strategy. They've made a number of recommendations, including a customer CRM, customer relations management program, big ticket items, but we need to go through that and see what fits our corporation and our organization. Training is the first priority, and that's where we'd like to start. And that includes things like response times, standards in our email signatures, those sorts of things, the way we handle our voicemail greetings, those kinds of things, and acknowledge, how quickly do you acknowledge receipt of an inquiry, and, advising what the next steps are going to be. It's those sort of specifics. It's really the nuts and bolts that we want to get to. Mr. Hewlett, anything further that, because you're going to be taking the lead on this as we roll it out. So this is your chance.
Through you, Madam CAO, you pretty much summed it up. That is where we're at on the customer service strategy right now. Last year, we recently worked with the Wilfrid Laurier MBA team. We've been quite lucky to work with a number of their teams, and they assisted us in developing the strategy. However, right now we are moving forward with the training component of the strategy and developing our response times and the corporate structure.
Yeah, those sound like very admirable goals. And if this training is the next step to getting that moved along, I'd like to see us do this. So I would make a motion that we incorporate this training into our budget.
Okay. So I take it you're making the motion to move that the $5,000 be added for increased training specifically for customer service and upgrading. Jamie.
Through Mayor to members of council, just to summarize the motion, what I've captured is that in consideration of the 2023 draft budget, council directs staff to include an additional $5,000 in the 2023 budget levy for staff training, with $2,000 being allocated to customer service training and $3,000 being allocated to the general staff training budget.
Good with that, Jeff?
And I believe one of those was considered a one-time. Did you, was that in there?
Yeah, two.
Through Mayor to Councillor Shea, I didn't put that in the motion specifically, but that's something that we just wouldn't bring back next year in the budget cycle, but I could include that if that's council's wish.
I think we don't need it in the motion. We can go with that. Duly noted. Okay. Yeah, we'll see the budget next year on staff training being at $8,000. Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hutchison. Doug? Thank you. Any further comments on the motion? Doug?
I'm just curious of whether this training or this study from the university has anything to do with our website, because I think our website needs some more work. Is that going to be a part of this, or is that something different?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, Councillor Hutchinson, the website is one of the communication tools that we will be enhancing, in addition to, social media, that sort of, all of those channels.
And to be clear, we do have, yeah, somebody that is in communications, so we know specifically who some of that training is going to target. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. The next one you had, Laura, that was on the training. The second one was on.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it was the holiday tree community flagpole budget request from that's Mr. Hewlett's again. I think there's a little bit of a background that he needs to provide for council's information as well on this one. Thank you.
Go ahead, Cody. Give us a bit of a background on the thought process on the request.
Thank you, and through you. Basically, this year, as part of our regular maintenance of all of our LC beautification initiatives, we did have a electrical contractor take a look at all of our focal trees that we light as part of the Christmas festivities within West Gray. And we were informed that all of our trees, with the exception of one, are basically at end of life. That's not referring to the trees themselves, but rather the lighting systems that are installed in the trees. So those will need to be replaced for the upcoming season. I had provided in the budget a option to council of switching the trees over, as opposed to lighting a traditional evergreen tree, to doing a community flagpole program, as well as lighting those trees. So it wouldn't be a lit evergreen tree, but rather a outline of a tree that is hung from a flagpole.
Okay, that's the reason for the request from staff. Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Well, personally, I would like to see us continue on with our, maintain our trees that we have and decorate them. I think part of our climate action plan is to have more trees. So I think anything we can do to, involve trees, bring in more trees, replace trees if we have to, I think is important. My concern with these tree lighting, tree something, flagpole trees, that I'd be concerned that they might sprout legs and walk away, just like our lights did on our bridge that we have. At least with they're on the evergreen trees, it takes a little bit of work to get the lights off the tree. I can't believe that the lights on the bridge disappeared that easily, but they did. So I don't think I'd be in favor of the portable ones at this time. I just like, if we need to put some money into replacing lights, then let's do that, and let's make them as nice looking as they can be at Christmas time, because people do appreciate that. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments? Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess, and part of my concern too would be if we were getting away from decorating the current trees that we're using. For instance, in the Lions Park downtown, I think it would, I mean, that's probably why that tree is there, is strictly for that purpose. And where would you, it only makes sense to have it lit. And then we get into our dealing with our neighbors in Brockton too, with Elmwood, as to splitting the cost with them 50-50 also. So there's maybe warrant for doing, maybe one somewhere or two in the community. But I know in Ayton, the tree we used in Ayton, it's in a good spot, it's in a good location. And I don't know whether you're thinking, Cody, of changing locations if we went to the flagpole style trees, but I think we have good locations where we have everything now. And to Councillor Hutchinson's comment, I think it looks good to have the trees decorated up, and it's more of a traditional Christmas than an urban Christmas. Thank you.
Any comment on that one, Cody, or thoughts? Go ahead.
If I may, through you, and to address Councillor Hutchinson's comments as well. The proposed program would not be temporary flagpoles. They would be permanent flagpole installations. However, the lights would be temporary, but the way they're secured, it would be very difficult for an individual to walk away with those lights. The locations I propose they would remain very similar to as they are currently. And to speak to Councillor Townsend's inquiry about Brockton, Brockton does not supply us any funds for the trees. It is just a West Grey initiative. This program was brought forward clearly as cost savings, just as if we were to look at relighting and restringing all 5 of the focal trees currently, it would initiate a budget implication of approximately $15,000, so almost doubling the proposed program.
Anything further there, Doug? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're bearing the whole cost of the Elmwood tree from what I'm hearing, which is one thing. And the other issue I have, if we're using the same locations, my concern would be the existing trees that are there. Hopefully not getting rid of trees to put a flagpole up. I can see that causing a bit of a kerfuffle with people. But again, I still like the traditional stringing of the trees is my thought. Or is there some way that we can do the flagpole effect on the current trees that we have instead of wrapping them around? Is there some mechanism that can be attached near the top of the tree to give us, at least on the front side anyway, the visual side to the road, the same style of effect without stringing the whole tree all the way around? That again might save us time and energy and hydro costs and all those other fun things. Just some thoughts.
Comments, Cody, or?
Through you, to respond to Councillor Townsend's response, we can look at stringing the lights differently. That could result in some cost savings in terms of the lights. However, regardless of council's decision on if we move forward with the flagpole system or the traditional lighting, we will need operational funds to replace the lights as well as the hanging of them.
Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Well, thank you, Mayor Eccles. I thought Cody or Director Hewlett, I guess my concern, I participated in 3 of the 4 Christmas tree lightings this past December, and I felt all the lights are very inoperable situation right now. I can't see those lights needing replacement currently, and I find $10,000 a lot of funding to replace all the lights if we stayed to the current system that we're using now. If you could just elaborate or defend that budgetary amount. Thank you.
Through you to Councillor Noon. Yes, the trees were in operational condition this year. However, those trees, or sorry, the lights are not expected to see another season or be in somewhat operation. The last thing I would like to see is when we go out to a community tree lighting, is when we go to light the tree that we plug it in, everybody's excited and only half the tree lights up. That would be fairly disappointing for the residents involved in that program. And yes, you are correct. It is a large budgetary request when you think of it just for Christmas lights. However, looking at the sheer scale of our tree, there's upwards of 200 plus sets of lights in each tree. And at $20, $30 a set, they add up very quickly. And we try to lessen those costs by buying wholesale. However, as you can imagine, our costs have increased exponentially just based on industrial lighting costs currently.
Go ahead, Councillor New.
Thank you. I know in Ayton, being that's the area I'm from, the tree on the downtown core in front of the library, to my understanding, those lights were donated. And unfortunately, the way they were they placed on the tree didn't give, it just wasn't well balanced. And then the tree at the Centennial Grounds that was just planted by, the tree was donated. And again, those lights were put in place, I believe 3 years ago. What's the life expectancy of Christmas tree lighting on these trees? If you say that they've ran their lifespan. So if you could just elaborate on that. Thank you.
It's hard to say because there's a few factors involved, including weather, animals in the tree, that sort of thing. However, the lights that we currently have that are now at their end of life were installed about 5 years ago.
Further, anyone on this? Councillor Hutchison.
Well, again, to go back to where I was before, I do believe I'd like to see us continue to decorate the trees we have. I think it's important. I think they're in critical spots around the communities. I'd like to see us, if we have to spruce up our lighting, I don't think our trees are lit as good as they could be. I think they could be lit up more. So I'd be in favor of continuing on with our regular program. And if we have to buy some new lights, we have to buy some new lights, whether it comes out of this budget or we find some money otherwise. But I'd definitely like to see us continue with what we have, but maybe do a little improvement in terms of the decorating itself.
Cody, go ahead.
If I may, through you and to Councillor Hutchinson's point, that's exactly it. Approximately 5 years ago, when the lights were installed, council may remember there were quite a few more lights in the trees than there are currently. Over the past few years since installation, we have been trying to limp these lights through. Just as we lose a few sets of lights every year, it happens naturally. But in response, we would be moving back to a few more lights in the trees just to make them a little bit brighter because they are starting to die off.
Okay. Anything further? Deputy Mayor Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And just to follow up to Councillor Noon, I know that the lights in both the library and Centennial are probably 3 years. So we're saying 5. I think the problem we see down there is they're not all connected. They're in the tree, they were donated items, but we're certainly not utilizing the full strings, if you will. And I think that's what's going on down there from what I had seen. So I think maybe we went and reevaluated some of what we actually have, and we get them all connected. We may actually have more strings. And that is in Ayton in particular. Again, Joyce and I both live down there, so I'm just speaking for that one. I can't speak about the inventory in Durham because I think it is at its end of its life. But I think if we just double checked on some of the stock we have, we may find that we're not in that bad a shape. Thank you.
Okay. How long do we leave the lights up and keep them in lit? Whether we're at Cody, you're kind of your department. Is it 3 weeks, a month, or 6
Through
months?
you, depending on when each community sets their tree lighting, typically they're lit mid-November and then usually unplugged fairly early in the new year. Council may notice that some of the trees are still operational, and we were just waiting until council made a decision on this, just as we were fearful that if we terminate the trees right now, we may lose some more lights than anticipated.
Okay. Doug. Councillor Town.
Cody, just a quick question about the program itself. With the tree lights, like I noticed going around to the different communities this year for the tree lightings, do we, and this is probably a dumb question, but do we take them down like every year and then put them back up in the fall and reposition them? Because there's a lot of the trees I noticed, naturally the trees are growing every year and the lights are maybe not in the proper positions. They're either way back in, or even the toppers on a lot of the trees at the communities this year that I noticed, you couldn't even see the topper hardly because the tree has grown.
And that's exactly it. Through you, basically each year we do not remove the lights each year. It the budget implication basically outweighs purchasing new lights if we were to remove the lights and reinstall them every year. However, typically every year or every other year, we try to go through and what I refer to as fluff the trees, or rather we try to pull the lights out to the front of the tree just so that they're more visible. However, this year when we had our contractor go out to fluff the lights, they noticed that if they were to try to fluff them, it would have resulted in more damage.
Okay. Good discussion. Got it kind of out here, but we've gone around the tree 3 or 4 times now. Don't know whether we're playing Ring Around the Rosie or not, but how do you want? It's a request form. Maintain it. Joyce, Councillor Noon.
Thank you. And I guess this would either be to the Director Hewlett or Director Mighton regarding what's in the budget currently. Is there any budget there right now for replacement of Christmas lights for those trees? Thank you.
Cody, if you want to take that one, you probably have.
Thank you, and through you. Just confirming, Director Mighton, did you say for me to take the request?
Yes.
Thank you. Currently, there is a small operational budget just to be able to kind of do the maintenance on the trees. That's a few $1,000s.
Okay. Anything more specific on that, Ms. Mighton? Like a few thousand, is that a few 10,000 or is that a few 1,000?
The commercial beautification budget is a total of 25,000. So that includes all of your programs, including your Christmas lighting, your summer baskets, and I believe the banner program also comes out of that. So everything we do in those downtown areas, we have a total of $25,000 in the budget, but it's got to go a long way.
So we just added $4,000 more.
Yeah, yes, that was before. Yep, the extra for the
Yeah, so we're at 29,000.
banners. Yeah.
Very good. Councillor Shea first.
Yeah, I was going to say this, I assumed this was coming out of the larger beautification budget, and that money gets reallocated year to year based on annual priorities. I think more went into homecoming last year, and so presumably taken from other pockets or buckets within that overall fund. So maybe this year is Christmas tree lights turn to be a priority out of that 25,000, and then they would reduce and go down because it's a 5-year, once every 5 years sort of investment. So maybe we could just ask staff to reallocate funds within that to make the Christmas trees a little better this year. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Echols. And I just sit here and I do think we live in a very small tight knitted communities. And I don't know why we wouldn't be going out, just reaching out to some of our citizens to assist in some. And I know, and I'm not going to speak out of turn, but I know that we could certainly raise some funds in some of the communities to, and not for any names specific allocation, but I'm sure that their support of the community is there to don't make some donations too. So I don't think we should ever close the door on that. And I can speak specifically for where I live. I know that the support is there. Thank you.
Getting the feeling that there's not really that much support for increasing the budget, but the budget that's there, reallocating some of those funds has been a suggestion. And how that's gone up. I think the other thing is that the beautifully naturally or naturally beautiful, a number of strategic or mission or statement that what West Gray is. I just, speaking from the chair, I get a problem of putting up some steel and cement when we're in West Gray and it's very natural. Continue to using the natural trees that we already have here. I would be very supportive of trying to enhance a little bit on the tree parts that we have and dealing with the budget that's already in place. So unless somebody wants to move that, anything else, will that be the direction that we take on this one? I don't see a mover for incorporating this one into the budget, so we don't need to vote on that one. All right. Very good. Okay. Next, that's it for budget. I'm going to suggest we take just a 5-minute break. I see that our deputy mayor's already slipped out, but from the chair, I couldn't do that, but I'm going to do that right now. Thank you. We'll recess for, be back at 25 to. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Q. Budget request forms. Been through quite a few. I think we're down to no other ones to be looked at this point in time. That should be just about it, right, Carrie? You're just satisfied with everything? But
You're the ones that need to be satisfied.
okay, I'll bring one thing up then. When we were in Public Works, went through the Public Works budget and whatnot, there was a deferral of the Mulock Road project because of a service provider was looking to do some work, we believe, and in coordinating that with their project, we deferred the Mulock Road project. There was a thought that funding that was there, we moved, what we did move was $180,000 of that into reserve, but deferred another project that was on the request early on, which was the second of Glenelg, north of Highway 4, County Road 4, to the north line. Is there a possibility of moving that funding to put that forward? The deferral, just put it off. It's not like it doesn't need to be done. The deferral, instead of moving the money to reserve, would be to do that project and have it invested of doing the project on concession 2 of Glenelg Township, the old former Glenelg. I'm throwing that out there. I kind of thought that that's where we were going with it, because talking this morning to Director Aiken or Manager Aiken, that, yeah, it's back in there and it's just made that list for 25 or 24 grow for next year. It would have the capacity to do that, or at least tender that out to find out whether we could get that portion of the road resurfaced. And instead of putting the money into reserve, use it for a project. If I'm not mistaken, Carrie, it was levy funding, so it would be there.
It was,
Wrong.
yeah, it was coming from the OCIF grant funding,
Yeah,
but you can reallocate it still for an eligible road project.
correct. There's a couple of other projects that we have that are total levy funding that would take into account that Mulock Road project. Looking for, I think it's something that if we keep deferring, project costs go up and we haven't got it done, and it just becomes a bigger mountain for the municipality, infrastructure, and certainly public works to climb. So I'm throwing that out there as a thought.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and yes, I could support that too. In your conversation what's that, the funds that we have allocated, we're going in reserves, would that cover that capital? Did the director give you an insight on that?
You did. And you probably noticed I was a minute and a half late coming in, and that was part of the conversation with him this morning. Yes, he's feeling that somewhere, certainly the 180,000 would be more than enough. His thought process would it be closer to 150 to do that project. Would be to mill it, a bit of spot improvement, and then do the resurfacing on that road.
Yes, I would support that, and I think that's kudos for that vision. And I'm assuming because you are in the chair, you will be looking for somebody to move that motion.
Thank you.
And let's see, I can pick up on those things. So if you would like, I would be in position to move that recommendation.
All right. Have a move. Is there anyone that would second that? Councillor Hutchison, Doug? Okay. So moved. Want to read us back what you've got there, and then I'll get to you, Jeff. Go ahead. Jamie?
Through Mayor, I was looking at past minutes just to see what was captured, so I didn't quite capture the entire essence of what Deputy Mayor Hutchinson was suggesting.
Well, from the Mulock Road project, and I apologize, I don't have the exact amount that was put into reserve, 180,000. That instead of being transferred to reserves, that is put towards the Glenelg project. And I guess one step further would be the balance or the unused funds be put back into reserves towards the Bentic.
They'll just put into.
They'll put into reserves for future consideration. How's that?
Carrie?
Yes, because it is OCIF funding, not tax levy funding, any unspent funds will remain in deferred revenue.
Thank you, Director Mighton.
So through Mayor to Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, we're reallocating 180,000 from the Mulock Road project to the concession to east. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I think I'm looking at an older copy of the draft budget, capital budget projects, because the version I'm looking at says Mulock Road project has zero funding towards it, and the concession 2 has 180,000. So that was where we started, and then we decided to move the 180. I'm just trying to go through. We decided to move the 180 from concession 2 to Mulock Road, because Mulock Road was seen as in worse condition.
And Mulock Road would be about a $340,000 project. So then council was going to put that money aside, the 180 for a portion of it, in light of the fact that Enbridge may be doing construction work on there. So it would be a 24 construction project.
Okay, so, but you've had discussions with the Public Works Manager saying that in his estimation, the concession 2 is the higher priority than the Mulock Road project. Is that right? I'm just trying to get the.
No. The conversation was it's not a higher priority. They're both at the same type of level, but the Mulock Road project was put off because of the conversations that we had with Enbridge about in 2024. Them going to run line up the Mulock Road. So instead of us doing the Mulock Road this year, and then Enbridge coming in and putting lines in and whatnot through Norris to Crawford, it just, how much was that going to disturb? So the Mulock Road, that was the reason the Mulock Road project was put off. And then we put off in further conversations, this is a reconsideration that Durham Road East project was a priority, but the Mulock Road was a priority. Where do we put that funding in? And my thoughts are if we put it off for another year, it's just delaying again. The project, Durham Road East project, probably been on the 5-year or 10-year capital works project list for as long as the list has been there. Yes. Yeah. That project has been there that long. And deferred for the various reasons. So. Okay. Background, good. Okay. Anything further? This won't have any effect on the levy. It's just a matter of us getting some projects completed. Moving forward on that infrastructure deficit that we have. If nothing else, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay. And I'm sorry, Carrie, that's the only surprises I have for you today. Good or bad. Synopsis of where we're at. I think we're down to the point of being able to go forward. Are council satisfied with your final numbers?
So with today, we've added a net of $11,723. That's the airport. Part of the sign for the Elmwood Chamber of Commerce, the banner program addition, and customer service training. And then we've switched the project listing, no budget change, but to add the concession 2 EGR project to the list to be completed. So we're at a tax levy increase of $1,143,135 or 9.6%. That represents still continued about a 3.3% tax levy increase towards capital and about a 6.3% tax levy increase towards operating. The county has not set the tax rates and tax ratios yet, so it's still just an estimate, but that would get us to maybe about a 5.93% overall, or about $72.25 per 100,000 of residential assessment.
So with that said, we did have a target of 6% and we're below that on a, depending on how the county, where our residential tax rate is, and that's set by the county. But using our best guessing numbers there, we're below that 6% overall.
Yeah, it may be slightly less once the county actually sets their rate, but until they go through their process to come up with the tax rate, that's a conservative estimate on where they may land.
And that process will be done, correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie or Tom, we're looking at that at the county in a week's time, March 7th. Yeah, first week of.
Yeah, likely, because the county does need to have all the tax policy decisions passed and their tax rate set before the end of April. So depending on how many meetings you have in there, you're likely starting that process.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Any last questions or comments on the hard work not only the council's done, but certainly the staff have done on this? Councilor Shea, Jeff?
Thanks, Carrie. I'm just looking at the document you prepared called Estimated County Rates Not Set. And can you explain what the last column is, percentage of total dollar increase based on zero assessment change?
Yep. So that when we start talking about the overall tax levy, so because the school board rate is not changing, it stays the same. County with their increase and our increase, when you look at the year over year change on an overall basis, because the school board hasn't gone up at all, it does slightly lower our overall tax rate from our 9.6 to, so when you look at $100,000, there's not a reassessment this year of so when we look at 100,000 of residential assessment with no assessment change, just last year's tax rate with these estimated tax rates, it would get us to about a 5.93% tax increase overall.
Our portion is indicated to be in the version that you circulated, I think, 4.6.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand what the difference is between 9.4 and 4.6, like how we got there.
Yep. So when we take the ours for 100,000, if the tax rates were set, it'd be $748. So if we look at that compared to last year's total of the 1217 versus this year, the estimated rates would be 1,290. So our share of that increase is that's with the downward pressure that the overall tax rate, it gives us a little bit of room, if you will, we used to call it vacated room from the education side, because they keep their tax rates the same. or they have, the province has announced that. So
Okay, thank you.
Through Mayor, staff have drafted a motion to proceed with this. So it would be that in consideration of the 2023 draft budget, council, 1, approves the draft budget in principle, and 2, directs staff to issue a notice of public meeting and intention to pass a budget bylaw to be held on March 7th, 2023.
That's clear. Somebody can move that, put it on the floor. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Excuse me, Deputy Mayor Hutchison, Don, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Hutchison, Doug. Questions or comments? Moving this forward. Tom, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry about that. What was the date that you have? Did you say the 7th? Clerk Controller?
Through Mayor, yes, that is correct.
I'm gonna go on the Great County. I just want to make sure we don't have a conflict because we very well might be dealing with the county at the same time. So I think we should double check that if we could.
Through Mayor, that's a Tuesday, so that's West Gray's regular council meeting in the evening. So that's when we would be holding that public meeting. Correct. Sorry, pardon me, daytime, correct. But it is still contained within the regular council meeting.
I did say the 7th for the county when we'd be looking at it. It's the 9th. Yeah, I knew it was that week, but yeah, it was just a couple of days early. Okay. Good. Any further questions on the motion? It's giving direction. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. So congratulations. We're one step closer to having the budget passed. And hopefully, without any surprises and whatnot, we can get through the process on March the 9th. Some of that first week in March, okay? Yeah, let's go with that. Sorry, on March the 7th, yes. Get the 2 dates mixed up between county and West Gray. Okay, with that, then we need a bylaw. Excuse me, to confirm the bylaw, to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting dealing with budget. Confirming bylaw. Do I have somebody to move the confirming bylaw? Councillor Forrester and Councillor Townsend. Thank you. Any questions on the confirming bylaw proceedings? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Very good. I believe that's all of the business on the agenda and all the business being completed. I'll move. The meeting's adjourned. We will see you back here. Committee of Adjustment starts at 2 o'clock. Sorry, zoning public meeting. It's that planning stuff.